the civic society, doesn't affect the economy of the small and medium-sized enterprises in Russia. Italy, from this point of view, has a tradition of intense economic relations with Russia in this respect. So, in order to stress once again with a final statement, sanctions against Russia are not and cannot represent an end. Second issue, Trans-Adriatic pipeline. I discussed this with President Trump, and I reported to him that my government is fully aware of the fact that this is strategic work in terms of energy supply to Italy and to the south of Europe and the Mediterranean area. We are perfectly aware of the fact that this can provide a contribution also in the renewal of the energy system and the elimination of coal, which is part of our program. At the same time, I correctly informed President Trump that there are some uncertainties by local communities, the communities where the pipeline will land. Since problems must be faced directly and not trying to avoid them, once back to Italy, as soon as possible, I will discuss the issue with the competent ministers, and I will go and meet the local mayors, the local communities, trying to find a solution which will take into account the concerns of local communities. As far as the third point is concerned, F-35, as you know, do you know this is a program which was decided in 2002, that the agreements were signed in 2002. So it's a pretty big period of time in terms of talking about needs for defense and security. As a government, we are responsibly evaluating this file. As you know, there is already a process of orders being issued, which is taking place, and these orders are issued much earlier because the work is really complex. So we will continue to follow this file and we'll make all the necessary choices in a very cautious way in view of the needs of defense and security, being fully transparent with our partner, the Trump administration.
Thank you very much. Sanctions on Russia will remain as is. As far as a pipeline is concerned, I'd like to see a competing pipeline. So, Mr. Prime Minister, I hope you're going to be able to do that competing pipeline. And we are already talking to the European Union about building anywhere from 9 to 11 ports, which they will pay for, so that we can ship our LNG over to various parts of Europe, and that will be more competition. But the sanctions on Russia will remain as is. Okay. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
President Trump concluding a statement and joint news conference with Prime Minister Giuseppe Conte of Italy. They are kindred spirits on the issue of a crackdown on illegal immigration. You'd see a lot of synchronicity between the two men on that issue. The president making a bit of news, again, reiterating his position now that he would be willing to absorb a government shutdown in the name of tighter border security. He also made news on the issue of whether he would meet with the leadership in Iran, saying that he would meet with anybody. He'd meet with Iran with no preconditions. Let's go to Hallie Jackson now, our chief White House correspondent. She's in the East Room there. What are your thoughts and observations, Hallie?
Well, Lester, the two leaders have just walked out of the East Room behind me here, and there are 2 points to make. Number one, this was largely a love fest between these two men when it comes to the geopolitical and international relationship, specifically as it relates to the U.S. and the European Union. But Lester, we would be remiss in not noting that the elephant in the room was not addressed, and that elephant is anything having to do with Special Counsel Robert Mueller, his investigation, Michael Cohen, the president's former attorney, and the news that has broken over the last week or so related to a recently revealed recording of President Trump talking with his former fixer, Cohen, who is now obviously under investigation. This was the 15th time in the last week or so, Lester, that the president has had an opportunity to answer questions on Cohen and has chosen not to. On the 14 other times, reporters have attempted to at least ask the question. The president has not addressed those. So that, I think, is notable. There was some news made here, right? If you look at the two things that you mentioned as I first came on the air with you. Number one, the issue of a potential government shutdown just 2 months from today, September 30th. The president threatening to shut the government down if he does, in fact, not get the money that he wants for his border wall. Republicans thought this was over. They thought this fight was delayed until after the midterm elections, which is so critical for the GOP to retain control of the Senate and the House. But now the president is doing some saber rattling. That is not sitting well with GOP leadership over on the Hill. There's also, Lester, this question of whether the president will meet with the Iranian leader Rouhani. He had said that he would now meet with him with no preconditions. That was something that drew a bit of an audible reaction in the room after the president, of course, has met with Kim Jong-un of North Korea, Vladimir Putin of Russia. So, Lester, might you and I be traveling to another summit here one of these days? Who knows? But the president certainly says that he is not foreclosing on that idea.
Yeah, Hallie Jackson, thanks very much. And again, there were some topics there we expected to come up. We didn't. The format of these particular news conferences, where they're called 2 and 2s, simply only allow a few bites of the apple, and they didn't get there today. We're going to have full coverage throughout the day on MSNBC and on NBC.com. And a complete wrap-up when I see you tonight on NBC Nightly News. For now, I'm Lester Holt in New York. Good day, everyone.